Yes, hello and welcome along once again to the Irish F1 show, and once again in association with PFT Travel, who we thank for their sponsorship over the last few episodes. PFT Travel catering for all your transport requirements, from a private minibus to luxury air conditioning coaches. You can contact them by getting in touch with MJ 087 624 8831 or email pfarrelltransport@yahoo.com. You can also find them on Facebook at P Farrell Transport Limited. Thanks once again for the sport. All right, we've had an epic at Silverstone, and we're going to bring in Brian Rabbit and Richie Carney to dissect it for us. How are you getting on, lads?
Well, careful, Richie. Yeah, great race.
Cheers, boys. Where do we start? Because I mean, if we hadn't had the drama, I'd say 4 laps near the end with all these boys passing each other, like we had plenty to talk about anyway, I suppose. But I think it would be remiss of us not to start with congratulating Carlos Sainz, a first win. And I'm absolutely delighted for him. I don't know about you guys. Richie, I'll let you take this one up first.
Yeah, delighted for him. Eventually, he's got there. We've criticised him in the past in other Grand Prix, making mistakes, and he probably should have won one before now. But delighted for him. Yeah, delighted for him. Delighted for Ari.
He did make a mistake today, Barry, as well. Or did he make a mistake? Would you put that down to an error where he took his little wobble?
Yeah, I think the car, it was just, I don't know, maybe a gust of wind. It looked a bit odd there in the middle of the Beckett's and Maggots section there. Very, very fast section of track. So, yeah, just the tiniest little wobble. I think it'd be hard to call it a mistake, really. It just, it's what happens when you're pushing, you know. Literally could have been a half a mile an hour, a breeze of wind or anything at all could have caused that. So, he did well to gather it back up, and obviously he was going to lose the position to Verstappen once that happened.
Yeah, he has had a bit of bad luck this year as well as making some mistakes. So it's nice to see that turning a little bit for him, you know. And great, I suppose, to see the lads let go at it as well. Do you know, Rich, you're a big fan of that the whole time, but it was, I thought it was the right call. Always makes for a great spectacle, of course, and we're always looking for lads to go race. We hate team orders, but I suppose in general that was a standout. And as we said, coming down the last 4 laps there, Leclerc, Perez, Hamilton, Alonso came into the mix. That was really good viewing, wasn't it?
Yeah, they sort of shot themselves in the foot. Like, I know we want to see him racing, and we don't want team orders and things like that. But like, Lewis was gaining serious ground on him. Like, if they were going to do the swapperoo, they should have done it 10 laps previous and just let's see what sort of pace Leclerc had, and you know, but like, you know, let them at it, let them race.
It was opportunistic out of Hamilton, wasn't it? When Perez and Leclerc were having their little battle, and he just swooped in. Like, I thought it was a really good piece of racing out of him.
Yeah, it was good. It was a bit of a when it happened. I've drove Silverstone once or twice. We've done a lot of kind of sim racing on it, and where he tried to pass, Perez tried to go around the outside there of Leclerc was just silly, though. To be honest, that's what triggered the whole thing. There's no way you're ever going to pass him around the outside into that section. Very, very tight left-hander immediately followed by the right and up over the curb. So it's a bit of a silly move by Perez to trigger it all off. And then, yeah, sure, Hamilton, the gates just opened in front of him when he drove past the two of them. But Perez got away with it really insofar as he was able to come back at Leclerc a few corners later in the lap and get it done a bit neater.
I suppose we should give the classification before we go any further. We'll take it on back to the start then, and all the things that happened during that, including protests and magistrate all together. But anyway, going down through our results, just open the screen. So yeah, Sainz wins, Perez second, Hamilton third, Leclerc fourth, Alonso fifth, Norris sixth, Verstappen seventh. He had a great little tussle with Schumacher actually coming down the stretch, and he had his troubles obviously, Verstappen.
Mick Schumacher.
Yeah. You enjoyed that one, I'd say, Richie.
I did. I was praying he passed him towards the end, but at the same time, not doing it.
He was too nice to him, Richie.
He was.
Mick was too nice to him. He should have kept the boot in, especially on the last little kink, right? Because even if they'd have come together there, the momentum would have brought him across the line. Like, so, a little bit too nice to him.
Should have been a little bit more aggressive, I thought. But listen, absolutely delighted for Mick Schumacher. His first set of points in Formula One.
Concluding the top 10, Vettel and Magnussen. So let's go back to the very start then. So, I mean, to be honest with you, when I saw the incident first, I didn't even realize that Guan Yu Zhou's car was upside down, because with the camera shot, it was from the distance. All you could see was just the car flying along. I thought, obviously, you know, he ended up where he ended up, like, but geez, lads, when you see the pictures back, like that is ferocious to look at. It's actually really uncomfortable to look at. I don't know what you think about it. Barry, I'll come to you on it.
Yeah, well, watching it live there, I seen we could see I did copy was upside down, going across the Scot, all right, and kind of a strange one. Normally, the car goes upside down, it'll quickly topple a bit because obviously they're kind of triangular shape upside down, if you like. So it would normally fall back, but I suppose that's with the halo now. It gives they're a little bit sturdier, like a little set of stabilizers on them, obviously to keep almost to keep them upside down. So unusual to see a car stay upside down for that long. And a single seater normally the tip and then start rolling again. But yeah, look, all the safety things did its job. And then he just ended up in a really awkward position, like side on against the catch fence and between the catch fence and the little pathway basically between the catch fence and the tire wall, and that's where he parked the car on its side. So that was why it took so long to get him out of it, but no injuries, I believe. And interesting then to see George Russell. Well, he claimed at least that he ran over to check he was all right, and then realised the car was still going and tried to get back in it. Call me a cynic, but I don't know. I say he thought his race was over, jumped out, and then did go over for the right reasons to Grand Show, and then came back and went, Jesus, lads, I only have a puncture. We have another go at this. I don't think it was as coordinated as he might have let on at the interviews, and as a result, he was thrown out and not allowed restart.
I think he's called that right, Richie. In fairness,
yeah, 100%. And I suppose just the Irish F1 show, we're all delighted to see that Guan Yu Zhou walked away, no injuries, no anything from, like, that was a fairly horrific accident. Like Barry, I could just see it in the background, the car on its roof skating across the gravel, and like first thing you think is, oh fuck. I think the halo played a massive part in keeping him safe. And then, like Barry said, one other thing was he went like floor first into the catch fencing, which might have helped things a little bit too. But interesting Russell's comments afterwards. He says he got touched. He looked in his left-hand mirror and went to try close. He didn't realise how far up Gasly was. He went to try close the gap, and to me, that's what caused the incident. Yeah,
very like off the line in any race, and you don't make big maneuvers like that. Big sweeping maneuvers, because it's not possible to know exactly who's around you to a degree of there's so much going on. You're concentrating on going forward. It's not possible to have that degree of understanding. You have an idea where there's people around you, but you can't know exactly where everyone is. So, it's a bit of a rule of thumb. Don't make big movements, like that on the start.
Keep it in as much of a straight line as you can, like.
Yeah, or little,
get through turn one or.
Exactly. And bring it, if you want to bring it from one side of the track to the other, you do it a little bit gentlier so that, if there is someone there, they've time to react. But I think in Russell's case, it was a little bit of a dart. He was going backwards fast with the poor start and getting swamped. And in that situation, kind of keeping the steering wheel as straight as possible is probably a better idea. Whether it's, Fiestas in Mondello or Formula 1 at Silverstone, the same kind of rules apply. You don't move around too much, especially in F1 at the speeds they're doing. So definitely Russell caused it, no doubt about it. But unfortunately, a big shunt. Not to be. I mean, we get so used to seeing lads walking away from them, but they're still big shunts.
Massive.
Yeah. So when you say definitely Russell caused it, like I did see some people insinuating that they thought Gasly played a big part in it, but you still think it's Russell 100%. Yeah.
Gap is there. The gap was there.
Yeah.
Gasly was up, like his front wheels were ahead of, just ever so slightly ahead of the rear wheels of the gap he was going through. So, I mean, at that stage, George looked in his left mirror. He seen Gasly was there. He tried to squeeze or close the gap on him, in my opinion. Not saying this is just my opinion. He probably just should have held his steering wheel in a straight line rather than try to close the gap.
He's probably trying to get to the left to get a better sweep at the corner, just to open the corner out a little bit, so he wouldn't have been slow out of it. But no, I don't think Gasly had any part to play in that in terms of blame.
As well as the safety features on the cars, lads, you have to give. Now, I did see a shot. I was trying to think what part that was, Barry. We were chatting off air. Do you know what? Behind the seating area, Richie will say, I think a portion of that may have come off the car. Which look quite scary, like, is that, I don't know.
What's that, the head restraint, is it? That goes down the sides of the drivers and behind their head. Is that what I didn't see it now myself.
I'll tell you now, while we're live, you boys chat away there, because Karen Mullen actually has the name of it. So
It's the actual roll bar, Barry. The roll bar disintegrated behind him,
Oh, really? Jeez,
but the halo
that's
stayed there.
Yeah,
right. Okay, I didn't know that. Now that's a pretty catastrophic failure if that
Yeah.
happened, and that's designed to take masses of load, but maybe
Amazing.
sustained load.
Wasn't it amazing the engine didn't break away? Wasn't it?
the roll hoop
Yeah,
failed. Yeah, roll hoop.
the
Is that
roll hoop. Yeah,
Yeah,
Christ. Yeah. Well, the roll hoop really shouldn't fail. I mean, that's a steel structure, like, and it's designed to put up with massive. I mean, somebody said something like takes a couple of you can park a couple of double decker buses on top of it. A few PFT travel buses there parked on top of the roll hoop should be all right. Like, so it shouldn't fail like that. But it's
nicely done.
it mightn't maybe it's just a freak thing. And the fact that it was on its roof, so to speak. They don't have roofs, of course, but on its roll upside down for so long, why the party part for the friction at 150, 160 mile an hour? Sure.
That's what I don't think it failed, Barry. I think it just like with the friction from the roll hoop initially on the tarmac and then
wore away
shooting across the gravel. I think it just wore.
Yeah.
Like just literally disintegrated. Like,
it was like putting it under a grinder at that speed.
Yeah, something like
I would,
that.
I would generally share my screen, but I've done this before with pictures, and all of a sudden then the screen gets taken down, even though you give the full credit to someone. So this is actually a picture that's on the ESPN Twitter page. Now I'm just going to put up to the webcam, which is not ideal, I know, but see what we're talking about here?
Yeah.
It's
completely flat above the halo. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a worry. I'm sure F1 will be really looking into that carefully because that's very dangerous.
It is indeed. I would like to give great credit to the medics and stuff too, because you see where the car ends up and the position of Guan Yu Zhou in the car as well. How do you go in there and try sort it out in a safe manner without actually causing harm if he has had a back injury or whatever? Like that is a very awkward one to deal with, lads. In fairness, like.
Absolutely unbelievable. I started not that I learned for the first time, but Barry's car, his Renault. We were just messing around the last race there with these seat and things that Barry was opening it like, and there was extra straps, and I was like, "What the hell are they for, Barry?" And he was like, "There to extract seat driver, all in the one unit." So it's fucking amazing the way it works, like. But the car on its side, and as Barry said, they were just in that little channel of where like photographers and things barely have enough room to take pictures, like. So top marks to those guys.
Yeah, there's another, like, I suppose Guan Yu Zhou has put up something and he's smiling on social media, which is great to see now. So I can kind of go down this route at the moment, but with all this going on, there is occasionally a slightly funny element to it, and it mightn't have been funny at the time, right? But there's a cameraman or something in the corner, and he's literally hunched down like that, and all he's short is a dock leaf. It looks like he's taking it down the corner. It's unreal. And you know what? If I was standing where he was, I'd be looking for another pair of jocks or anything.
I actually seen that in one of the replays of the accident. You can see your man, and he just falls backwards onto his fucking ass, and he's like, if the catch fencing gave way, he was fucking dead one way or the other.
Have you seen the footage from the grandstand, like where that's going into? It's scary. No. You actually think the car is going to come into the grandstand, like.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot. Don't forget, them cars at the start of a race are heading on, what are they, 900 and something kilos? Like, they're not light cars anymore, coming at you at 120, 30 mile an hour upside down, or
5 meters long, all right, 2 meters wide or something like.
Yeah. It's like what they call it. It's a Rolls Royce Phantom. It's the same footprint as a Rolls Royce Phantom coming at you, like, they're not little toys, like.
Without the risk of bringing a lawsuit onto myself, and I don't know the group of people who were protesting, but can I describe them as gobshites? And it's probably even a waste of time giving them airtime, because that's probably what they want. But at the same time, we can't ignore it because it was a big thing and it could have been catastrophic.
I think as you know, I don't even know what they were protesting against. I don't care, and even if I did, I wouldn't say it. But I can just picture them. They obviously set the whole thing up, sitting around some room somewhere, determined to put the world to right by coming out onto the Silverstone Grand Prix. They had to buy tickets, I'm sure, to get in there, much to their disgust. But they put it down to expenses and said it'd be all right, be worth it when we stopped the race. And then went through all the hassle, paid in, got there, burst out onto the track right at the same time that the race was red flagged anyway. So they had no impact whatsoever on the whole thing. and they weren't even, even if they weren't videoed and they caused a red flag, it'd be noteworthy. But they didn't. There was absolutely, they may as well have been some lad going to the shop somewhere as much noteworthiness as their protest. So, yeah. Hate
I don't
that,
know.
lads.
I don't know what the fuck it was even about. Like, I mean, as
Some
Barry
lunatic
said,
somewhere. There's
to
always
go
one.
to all that effort and then, right, let's go. And red flags, like, right
Putting
there.
your
Yeah,
life
but
at
they
risk.
apparently
But the
they ran
marshals,
onto the
putting the
track
marshals'
just the
life.
same time.
Yeah, like if you look at it, not only as I just said there, put your own life at risk, but marshals' lives as well. Do you know,
Yeah.
by doing that, it's fucking mad. But you nearly would
Well, if
think
you
there was
think
no.
it's a good idea to go onto an F1 race circuit when there's a race on, there's probably not a whole lot going on at home, anyways, and up here that is. And
Oh Jesus!
yeah,
It was.
I think we've already probably given it more thought than they did.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll
That's
give
what I was
it
just going to
one
say.
last
We'll move
comment.
on from them gobshites.
Yeah, divine. It's almost divine intervention, I would say, which is a terrible thing to be putting it down to. But when Guanyu Joe crashed, because like if you hadn't, we could be talking about something completely different. But anyway, let's move on from it, lads. So with the restart, let's go to the restart. And Barry, you were impressed with signs from here, I think, in the earlier part.
I thought the start, because again, like the initial getaway, the Red Bull of Verstappen in particular got a better start than the Ferrari, and I think Sainz did incredibly well to come out of the first corner alongside, maybe a little bit lead, because he was kind of done by the time they arrived at the first corner. Verstappen had the inside line and probably a little bit of an overlap done. And I think Sainz, he gave him a squeeze into the wall. That wouldn't have mattered a whole lot. The squeeze it, people watch that and say, "Oh, he squeezed him into the wall." It's not about squeezing him into the wall. It's about making the upcoming corner sharper for the car on the inside than he'd like it to be. So it's not like he's trying to put him in the wall. He's just trying to keep him to the furthest to the track on the right, furthest to the right on the circuit, so that he has to slow down more for the upcoming corner. Then the guy in Sainz's case can get back to the left and take a sweep through the corner at his discretion. So that's what the squeeze is for. It's not a kind of like a game of chicken or anything like that, which some people think it is. And I think Sainz did it absolutely perfectly. Squeezed them over, swung back, got the faster race line through it, and did incredibly well to stay ahead. And that was very important, I think, in terms of. I know ultimately the race played out differently, but that was a very important move from Sainz to hold the lead for the first couple of corners.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going back. It's funny actually. We might as well tell the listeners and the viewers what I actually elected to do today, which is helpful now because I'm flicking back through them. But in the little WhatsApp group we have, like lads, just type it in, take whatever's after happening, just type it in, so then we can go back and refer to it. And I'm going back through it, and there was so much stuff in it. Actually, it's not even funny, right? But just to grab one, you've won Leclerc and Verstappen, no penalty. I can't think exactly off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was the first or maybe second lap. Leclerc and Verstappen were having a little bit of a dice. So Leclerc had thrown it up the inside into turn, what would it be, 1, 2, 3, 4, the tight, really, really tight left-hander, and he launched it up the inside. And I don't think Perez seen him coming up the inside of it, and there was a little bit of contact, which is what ultimately broke Perez's front wing. I know the Sky commentary were making a bit of a deal saying that Leclerc kind of launched it up there. I don't think so. I think that's a very slow corner with a big wide entry. So it was, completely on for Leclerc to do that. But as a result, then they came down the next straight, down the thing is called the Wellington straight, down the long into that fast left-hander with the that tight enough left-hander. In fact, the one that they have the camera up in the air over it that tracks them all the way through the whole complex. And what happens, if you can remember, is Verstappen was on the left side of the track coming down into that corner, and Perez was on the outside, so to the right of Verstappen, and went with him all the way around the left-hander. And Perez just ran him, Verstappen just ran, Leclerc and Verstappen, I'm getting the names mixed up, Leclerc and Verstappen, and he just ran him right off the track, as far as I'm concerned. He just pushed him out over the edge of the circuit. And my understanding of the rules now is that you must leave the car on your outside or your inside a car width. And I seen Verstappen did it to Leclerc, pushed him off the track before that long right-hander back onto the original start-finish straight. He also did it later, right at the other end of the race, to Mick Schumacher, the exact same maneuver. Schumacher down the outside, around that left-hander, and Verstappen pushed him wide. And just surprised it wasn't followed up on. I thought it would have been a penalty, to be honest, in one or both cases. because it completely contravened the rule that they've recently introduced.
Yeah, I did, and again, an advantage by it, Barry. So I mean,
Yeah, it puts the car. I mean, he was there. The move done.
Yeah. So well, probably was a penalty. I suppose when you look back on it, it probably was. He did just push him off the track, like.
By their own rules. I mean, we all know that going around the outside of someone is, that's a risk you're going to take by being on the outside. And I know a lot of old school racing, myself included, will kind of go, yeah, when you go around the outside, there's a certain chance that's going to happen, and you have to take it into account. But their own rules that they're racing to says you can't do what Verstappen did, black and white. Whether you agree with that or not, it's a different story. But it does say you can't leave the driver, push him off the circuit. You must leave him a car with a racing room, whether it be on the inside or the outside, and they didn't do that. So really surprised that it wasn't picked up on.
Can I segue slightly differently, I suppose, into a different direction, I should say, and refer to the articles that Verstappen's both the father and son do after each race? I find some of that a little bit uncomfortable because I don't know. Look, I'm not going to say there's a pressure on him. He's a world champion, right? But some of the stuff, the other way in Ireland, like we'd never give credit to our own, and we'd run down a relation quicker than we build them up, and like that in general. Like, he nearly does the opposite the whole time, and I'm thinking, I'd probably tell him, yo, let the fuck up, to be honest with you, if he was talking about me like that, because I'd just get embarrassed and uncomfortable and stuff. But I don't know, do you guys read those after each race?
No.
They are,
what is that?
Different anyway. I think it's Verstappen.com. I think it's as simple as that. I think that's the little website thing, just a little review of each race weekend, like, and Joss will do one.
Basically, his dad is just telling everyone about how good he is, like.
Pretty much, yeah, a lot of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely wouldn't happen over here.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. What did someone say before? What do you call it? When you're really good at something, you don't need to tell everyone. Everyone will tell you.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
That's the way.
And they're not lacking in confidence anyway. But no,
no.
Again, it was, as I said, I'm a complete neutral on all this. I don't, fanboy over any of them. But I thought it was beyond the rules. So just surprised it was let go twice. In fact, by Schumacher at the end too.
I'll tell you something I was very amazed with in that race, just in the early stages and throughout the race, right? In that manoeuvre you spoke about with Leclerc and Perez, Leclerc lost his end plate on his front wing in that manoeuvre as well. And the dramatic difference in aero it had between the Red Bull and the Ferrari, as in, like, Perez just went backwards, whereas Leclerc seemed to be able to sustain a decent enough pace. Like, I just thought it was fascinating. It was like they both lost basically the same part, and the Red Bull has just gone backwards, and the Ferrari was able to maintain.
Yeah, and we've seen that also with Verstappen's car, where it got some damage. I remember lap 20, they said. Like, yeah, a bit of. I think it might have been a little bit of the floor. I think one shot that I thought I seen a little bit of the floor was missing just in front of the rear left wheel. But small thing, a very small thing, had a massive impact on the Red Bull.
Difference.
Yeah. So, well, we know, like, the Red Bulls are kind of generally one of the highest downforce cars on the grid. So, maybe that's the downside, that they're so intricate and they're so, knife edge, that one little thing goes, and that's the knock on, because, like you say, Richie, they definitely did seem to struggle disproportionately a lot more than the Ferrari for both Red Bull cars.
Like, they gave Perez a new front wing, and look, he came back to finish on podium, like,
Yeah.
Where do you guys see Mercedes in terms of performance now, lads, with the improvements that Hamilton clearly made over the weekend? I think he was on Friday, wasn't he quickest in practice? I can't think offhand in quality, but definitely today. Like, I mean, has the car improved? Is he getting a bit more of himself? Is there anything more talking about in that regard?
Yeah, I think that definitely the car is better. I know they said something in qualifying that there was no bouncing or porpoising, which is the thing they've been struggling with massively. And at Silverstone, that was probably, being such a fast circuit where getting the car low to the ground would have the biggest benefits. That's a surprise that they at that circuit they managed to get rid of it. And then equally, if they can get rid of the porpoising or the bouncing at Silverstone, that's the best track to see the rewards for getting rid of it as such, because the aero would be massive. around there, such a fast flowing circuit. So yeah, they look like they have definitely made a step forward. Again, it's hard to know. Like, I know anytime they've Hamilton's got his podium, and anytime previously he's got his podium, everybody, there's a big cry of they're back or they're on their way back. But again, it wasn't the podium won completely out of pace. There was the Verstappen out of place and push back, which would have ordinarily left them at least fourth. So look, they're still, they're probably in a little bit. They're definitely now the third best team, where that was kind of fluctuating a bit between two teams. To be McLaren, it could be McLaren, it could be Toro Rosso one weekend, it could be even Aston Martin the odd time, and Alfa Romeo getting a notable mention here and there. But it seems to be now that it's Mercedes is the third best car, but I don't think they're on the pace of the front two just yet, but close.
Not straight away, but I was just listening to an interview Friday evening. I think it was Toto or else it was Lewis, or did a completely new aero package for both cars this weekend, as in the only thing that stayed the same were the two pods. And power and stopped dramatic. Sort of putting that down, Barry, to Silverstone being such a smooth circuit as well, not busy. So maybe that played into their hands a little bit as well.
Yeah, it could be, because I think there's two things happening. I think there's bouncing, which is literally just a car hitting the ground because they're running it so low, and it's literally hopping up and down the ground, and which is more of a suspension thing. And then there's porpoising, which is an aerodynamic thing. So yeah, maybe it was more the suspension and the things than the aero. But I think it's fair to say they definitely made a step forward. There's no doubt about that.
Definitely.
They made a step forward.
We're normally giving out about them, but just to give Lewis a special mention, like that was a fair drive out of him today. To be fair,
look, Richie, he's not the greatest driver of all time for nothing. Like,
no, Kevin.
I can see the steam billowing here already from the ears of Richie. I'll tell you though, look, Hamilton is without a doubt his sheer class, but has he lost a little bit of the kind of the street fighter in him? Because near the end there, when he was on the softs and Leclerc was hung out to dry on those old tires, and not only old tires, old hard tires. I mean, it's literally the polar opposite end of the tire spectrum. Old hard tires versus new softs is a massive gulf between them. And coming into Copse, it's massive. Like, it's hard to fathom the difference. But coming into Copse corner, the scene with Hamilton and Verstappen last year, Hamilton was on the right heading into it. Leclerc was over his shoulder behind him to the left. Like, he was a half a car length behind him. Leclerc's front right was only at Hamilton's kind of radiator, or maybe a little bit further back. And Leclerc went around the outside of him at Copse on old tires. And to be honest, he kind of embarrassed Hamilton there by doing that. I mean, Hamilton drove by him the next straight, but that's a different matter. Like, if someone did that to me, I'd have my head down. I'd be walking back into the paddock like with the helmet on. It was very telling, I thought.
Yeah, you're dead right, and especially with the Gulfing tire, like, he should have comfortably put that down the inside and kept position.
Yeah, well, he was already there. I mean, it was more Leclerc coming back at him. If you think about it, Leclerc came up behind him, towed up behind him, went to the left, and went around the outside of him from a car length behind at Copse corner. You don't do that without the other guy basically giving way. That's what happened. Like, it's and then we seen it later. We seen Leclerc do. Who was it? I can't remember. In all that it was like a Formula Ford race there, about 5 or 6 laps to go at the end. But Leclerc went. Who was it? Someone went around the outside at Copse or somewhere else. I can't remember. There's too many of them. But it was a similar sort of move around the outside.
Perez tried around the outside of Leclerc, didn't he?
Maybe it was. Yeah, I can't just remember. But it definitely. It just struck me that Hamilton was, he was done there, and he was embarrassed by Leclerc. And maybe that's the difference between, obviously Hamilton's 7-time champion. The hunger might be a little bit different, but I'm sure he won't like watching that one back.
No,
bit of pride there, of course. Bit of pride. Yeah. So look, that's any other last thoughts, I suppose, on today. Have I left anything out?
Uh, Aston Martin. Fair result for Aston Martin. Was it eight? No, ninth. And
Vettel was ninth, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the other
Vettel was
guy
as high
was
as 7th at one point.
yeah.
From
Like
16th on the grid or somewhere.
what were the third last and last starting?
Yeah, something like that. They were right. They didn't
Mad.
get into Q2 anyway, or out of Q1.
No,
They took in
I,
Q2. So did well.
fair race out then, guys.
Mm.
Yeah, they did. They did very well. And the only other one to mention, I had something else you were going to ask there, but it slipped me mind now in general. But yeah, no, it's just I think it was a good quality race. I think. Oh, sorry. What I was going to say was the Ferrari. Did Ferrari make a massive error again by not pitting Leclerc and putting him on the softs with the
I
safety
think
car
so.
there with 10 laps to go? It everything would suggest that they did, and they handed the win away, but luckily only to the other side of the garage. But I think that was definitely a mistake from Ferrari again on strategy end of things. And I don't know if you guys seen it at the end. Leclerc was pulled to one side by Binotto when he was given a real dressing down, caught on camera. Binotto wagging his finger at him and telling him he couldn't hear what they were saying, of course, but you could picture it. And it was basically, don't give out about the team, I'd imagine. A real dressing down he got to the side at the podium celebrations.
That's
I don't know
twofold,
who
right?
I don't know
I
who
think,
Ferrari's strategist is, but whoever he is, like
yeah.
he needs it's Walmart or somewhere he should be working. Like it's not.
Well,
Fuck me, like.
well, you see, Richie, that's what I was going to say there. It's twofold. So, if that dressing down occurs, and it has, you've said it has, right? It has to go the other way then, where Ferrari have to take ownership of it. Right? Okay, well, we made errors. I don't like the whole thing of you shut your mouth, but we're not going to say anything about it or take responsibility ourselves. That's the way it
Yeah,
kind of
and
has to work, in my opinion.
I
To be
think it's
fair.
Ferrari. I think you're right, Kevin, but I think it's Ferrari, and I think Ferrari are terrified. We mentioned this before, and you read back like I do. You read back books and articles and all sorts about the history of the sport, and there's always been a fear culture in Ferrari, always. And it doesn't necessarily. It does. Some of it comes from within, of course, but a lot of it comes from without in terms of the press, and it's a religion in Italy, Ferrari and Formula One. So when they do when they make a mistake, they get absolutely hammered for it in the press. And I think for fear of making a mistake, they keep making mistakes. That kind of way. They're not thinking of it freely and clearly. They're so terrified of doing the wrong thing that they don't do anything, which is the wrong thing. And it must come from that sort of thing, because it's just too often it happens.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's what Binotto is doing. Binotto's like, don't criticize the team, because tomorrow morning in the press it'll be Leclerc criticizes Ferrari, blah 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 blah, and they make a massive deal out of it, which could be nearly worse than just we just got the strategy wrong.
And on another hand, like, and that was one other thing I wanted to mention. It's like fair play to Carlos Sainz on the safety car restart. Like they asked him to bunch the pack up, keep 10 feet, give Charles that 10 foot like of a gap.
10 car lengths, Richie.
10 car lengths, sorry.
Yeah.
And he's like, come on, lads. Like, no, I can win this fucking thing. Like, just leave me at it. And I have to commend him on his strength to go and win his own race.
Yeah, he told them basically, with no mistakes, I'm not doing it, lads. Like 10 car lengths is 50 meters in them cars. It's a big difference. Like
massive.
Yeah,
Fair play to him for backing him. Commend him. Like I say, we knock him enough, so we'll give him his kudos when he deserves it.
Yeah,
he definitely deserved it today. Yeah, he did well to get pole. He didn't have the pace early on, but he absolutely made best use of the situation as it unfolded, and he stayed in the hunt all the way through. And a deserving winner, I think.
And very likable. So a popular win. Okay, right. Just a quick one on the standings, lads. So Max 181, Perez 147, Leclerc 138, Sainz 127, Russell 111, and the constructors then. Red Bull 304, Ferrari 228, Mercedes 188. Next weekend, of course, we have the Austrian Grand Prix. So it'll be interesting to see how things shape up in the space of a week there. We had 2 editions of that 2 years ago when they started doing the duplicate a few races, didn't it? It was Styrian the week after Austrian, and so
Red Bull's home track, literally the Red Bull Ring, owned by
Red Bull Ring.
We
Red
have a
Bull.
sprint race on Saturday.
Yep. So
Forgot that actually. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting. I think hard to know who'll get it. Don't know. Ferrari, I'm guessing, but we'll see.
So it's like the remember the conversation we had with the preliminary quarterfinals in GA terms like this. Did you qualify in pole or did you qualify in pole because you won the sprint? Like anyway, we're not getting into it again.
No, I don't even know what they're doing.
We're out of time. We're out of time. We've 35 minutes up, and that's what we said we're going to keep it at. So lads, I really enjoyed it. Any last observations before we let you go?
No, just
enough.
a good race. You know, it seemed to be a big atmosphere. 400,000 people through the gates of Silverstone over the course of the few days, and I had another group chat there. A couple of mates of mine are at it, and it seems to be a great atmosphere. Both some of them are in the pit lane, lucky enough for them, and some of them are on the other side of the fence, and all reporting just a fantastic weekend of racing, and well enjoyed by all, I think.
Yeah, I have a cousin of mine over there, not a big F1 fan at all. Watched the Drive to Survive. He's at Silverstone now and absolutely loves Formula One. So
there you go. It's working.
Yeah.
I'll make it work on those press passes, lads. Maybe we'll be live. Maybe we'll be live straight after Silverstone at Silverstone next year. It'd be pretty cool.
We'll get there.
Lads, thanks a million. Appreciate it. There we go, Barry and Richie. Thanks to PFT Travel once more, the sponsors of the show, catering for all your transport requirements from private minibus to luxury air-conditioned coaches. Perfect solutions for you all the time. Travel in comfort, arrive in style with PFT Travel. You can contact MJ on 087 624 8831 or email pfarrelltransport@yahoo.com. You can also find him on Facebook at pfarrelltransport. Name it. Thanks for tuning in. And just let you know, we do have a Buy Me a Coffee link there as well. It's not compulsory, but if you're appreciating the efforts that Barry and Richie are putting into this show or whatever, there is a link there at the bottom of the broadcast. As I said, not compulsory, but a way of showing your appreciation if you want to. So until next week, take care.